And then it escalated again. My whole face was so swollen that I couldn't even see through my eyes.
This video is not sponsored.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends, and today I'm talking about why I buzzed my hair, why I got rid of my locks after a year of having them. I had wanted locks for a very long time. I made a lot of decisions during my lock journey that probably didn't help my situation at the time. I'll make a video about that, talking about the things that I wish I had known before I started locking my hair. I started them on my own. I didn't go get them locked by a professional. I didn't have them crocheted or anything. They had started in a twist out. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I've talked about in other videos that my scalp and my skin in general is super sensitive. Think about somebody with a super sensitive scalp that gets easily irritated, what it would be like to have heavy pieces of hair just pulling on your scalp constantly. That was not a fun experience for me. I actually kept my locks in a lot longer than I probably should have. I was aware that my scalp was getting super irritated by them, but I loved my locks. I didn't want to let them go, and it just kind of had to get to a point where things started happening that kind of accelerated my lock removal process. Outside factors, environmental factors kind of came into the mix to make my decision to remove them very easy. My parts weren't very clean, so a lot of the hairs were like pulling from different sections, so there was just a lot of tension. And I should have known, because I'm one of those people, I don't know if you've ever had a protective style, and before I got my actual locks, I had Marley locks, and my Marley locks were extraordinary. I love them, they're beautiful, but they were extraordinarily irritating to my sensitive scalp, and I should have known then that if Marley locks were irritating, that actual locks might also be irritating. So I went ahead and I got my locks anyway. In the beginning, everything was fine before they actually started locking and becoming true locks. I had a lot of dandruff just from like flaking and irritation just from like my scalp constantly being tugged at and pulled at. So much tension at my scalp, and it was very painful. I actually lost some hair. Like, I lost some locks because of the weight, and my roots couldn't support the lock, so my hair actually snapped off at the root, and it was in my more sensitive, thinner parts of my hair, like my baby hairs. I used to have a bald patch here actually from the lock that I lost. At work, there was a lot of construction going on, and there was a lot of dust in my work environment, so much dust that you could physically see it in the air, and you could see it on top of things. Like, you would dust down like a table, and then a couple hours later you would clean it again, it would be covered with dust again. I have a very severe dust allergy, which I learned from this experience. The dust got into my locks, so I had all of these allergens in my hair that I couldn't get rid of, that I had to sleep on, that were following me around, and all the washing in the world was not removing these allergens that were in my hair. And I didn't realize for the longest time that that was the problem. I was starting to get redness on my ears, itching, and then the redness escalated again, and it turned into a giant hive on my cheek that eventually scabbed over and was so itchy. And then it escalated again, and my whole face was so swollen that I couldn't even see through my eyes. I've talked about this in previous videos, my video called How an Allergic Reaction Changed My Life, and that is what I'm talking about right now. Once I got the confirmation from the doctor that it was in fact a dust allergy, they recommended that I remove my locks. And at that point, I had been through so much suffering. Like, I was terrified. I thought that my face was going to be stuck like that. I thought that I wasn't going to be able to see. Like, I was so scared that it was going to escalate and that, like, my throat could close up. Like, I was afraid that it could be, like, a life or death situation. Once the swelling started to go back down, with some antihistamines, I was, like, ready to get rid of my locks. So once everything was gone, I started cutting them. And I started cutting them in sections, and I remember after I cut off one, like the first piece, it felt so good and so relieving, and it was like scratching an itch that needed to be scratched so badly that you weren't allowed to scratch. And then I cut another one, and it just felt so good. I just kept cutting them and cutting them and cutting them until my entire head was free. Now, if you are thinking about getting rid of your locks, you don't necessarily have to cut them out like I did. I just chose to cut them out because I was not going to comb them out with all of the allergens. I was not going to mess with that. So cutting them off was an excellent solution for so many reasons. Everything kind of came to a point where it made so much sense. There's so many different factors in my life that were contributing to me cutting off my locks, and it all just kind of converged at once, like my allergies, the irritation on my scalp, and just feeling like I wanted to get rid of them from all of the suffering. It just all came together, and it just made so much sense for me to just take the plunge and just cut them all off. Once it was all gone, I just remember feeling so free and liberated and light, and it's just so nice to touch my scalp like completely for the first time and just feel like the freeness and the lightness. If you were debating getting locks and you have a very sensitive scalp like I do, or allergies, I would highly recommend reconsidering getting locks. I've personally suffered a lot. I've talked with other women who have a lot of similar issues that I have, who've had locks. Messing around with your scalp is not a good idea, especially not messing around with allergies is not a good idea. So I feel like the people who thrive and do best with locks are people who don't have sensitive skin, people who don't have allergies and don't have dandruff issues. Then locks would be great for you. But if you have any of those problems, like, it may not be the first day of your lock journey, but at some point something's got to give, and you might be pushed to the point where you want to take them out. So that is something to consider, and I hope that me sharing this story with you helps to give you some perspective if you're debating whether or not to get locks, or if even you're debating whether or not to remove your locks. I'm so glad I had the experience of having locks because it was something that I always wanted to do, and I'm one of those people that, like, if there's something that I want to do, I will do it eventually. Like, I'm not gonna just let it go and forget about it. I'm so glad that I had that experience. My experience with having locks was such a enlightening time for me. I had pretty much given up all of my social media. I was really focused on like inner healing and trying to figure out who I wanted to be. And it's funny, when I removed my locks, a week later I found out that I was pregnant. It was like a really beautiful symbol of like transitioning into a different period of my life, and it just gives me goosebumps just to think about. I will always have fond memories of that night when I removed all of my hair. It was a really powerful experience for me, and if there's some point you want to remove all your hair, I would recommend it if that's something that you want to do, because it's just nothing else compares to just taking all of that weight off of your shoulders and experiencing what that feels like. Let me know in the comments below, what brought you to this video? Are you debating whether or not to get locks? Do you already have locks and you're thinking about getting rid of them? Or are you just like curious and you don't have locks, you don't want locks, you just wanted to check out the video to see why I cut off all my hair? I'd love to know. If you haven't already, you can hit the subscribe button to join the family. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.